You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button.
Came across this earlier. Andy Staples over at On 3, he does this mailbag, column where people send in a question, he answers it and whatnot. This one was pretty interesting to me. This one caught my eye more than others. A reader, I should say, I almost said a listener. A reader sent in, rank these coaches who made the college football playoff at different schools by the likelihood they will give their new employer the gift of a CFP appearance. And he listed 4. He listed Kalen DeBoer, Brian Kelly, Luke Fickell, and Lincoln Riley. I think just by the nature of you listening to this show, you obviously like college football a lot. You follow it pretty closely, and you can probably guess how that ranking went. Right? I mean, there's not much to be left desired there. He had Kalen DeBoer, number 1, Brian Kelly, 2, Lincoln Riley, 3, and then Luke Fickell, 4, where he absolutely belongs because he's never taking Wisconsin to the college football playoff. I'm not so much interested in the ranking. But Brian Kelly, what you cannot argue is he is the most proven coach out of those 4. Not just in winning games, but also in making the college football postseason. This is a guy who played for a national championship at Notre Dame in the BCS era, has made the college football playoff twice at Notre Dame, and now is at LSU trying to finally get over the hump. Yeah, he's the most proven guy. Kalen DeBoer's made the college football playoff 1 time at Washington. He made it all the way to the national championship game and lost to Michigan. That is admirable. That is awesome. Lincoln Riley made the playoff plenty with Oklahoma and got skunked every time. He's actually more similar to Brian Kelly's Notre Dame teams than anything. And then Luke Fickell made it with Cincinnati when he really shouldn't have. But out of those, DeBoer and Kelly are the only 2 that have actually played for a national championship. So, looking at them, yeah, you're kind of splitting hairs. I know a lot of LSU people are going to be like, oh, Kelly's Kelly, not DeBoer. Alabama lost 3 games. Yeah, well, they also beat the hell out of you on your home field. But it's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about LSU's path and just how close that they are. And this ties into plenty of the conversations that we've had recently with the transfer portal and things of that nature. But the one thing that's for certain, looking at those 4 guys, DeBoer, Kelly, Riley, and Luke Fickell, why was that guy's 4th option? You think he's a Wisconsin fan? He has to be a Wisconsin. Like, why else would Luke Fickell be the 4th option there? Anyway.
Maybe because a Big Ten team with 2 losses and a down year could get in.
Maybe.
There's not that many coaches out there that have been to the college football playoff.
That's true. That are at new schools.
There's really not.
That are at new schools. Anyway. What was it? Oh, yeah. When you look at those 4 guys, the narrative coming into this season really, with all of them is, all right, let's see what you got. Specifically with Kelly, DeBoer, and Riley. And I think at the end of the regular season, there's a lot of people down on all of those coaches. I know people are down on Brian Kelly being in this market and being around it every single day. Obviously, folks were down on Kalen DeBoer because in Alabama, they're used to this unattainable, standard of success that's been well documented on this show by the normal host. And then, Lincoln Riley, USC gave him everything they wanted, said, okay, here, fine. You've asked for all of this. Here it is. Go do it. And he hasn't done it. The one thing that I will say is the argument that I would make for Brian Kelly is he's the only coach really in that realm, like out of those four, that the narrative seems to kind of have flipped completely around because of what LSU was able to hold together in the 25 recruiting class and what they've done in the transfer portal. Everyone feels a lot better about the direction of LSU football right now than they did leaving Gainesville, right? Or even leaving the Oklahoma game. Because of what they've been able to assemble, because of what they've been able to put together. Now, what I will say is, in doing so, that has just done nothing but heighten expectation. I'm not saying everybody's come around on Brian Kelly. There's still plenty of LSU fans, I'm sure, that haven't. Say, oh, yeah, he was doing all this talent, but he can't ever get over the hump. He can't win with it. Let's see. Okay, well, we're going to see. What I will say is they're not done yet. But the further and further they go along in this, it gets harder and harder to justify missing the college football playoff in 2025. I hesitate to use the word excuse. So let me get that on the record. I don't like having to use the word excuse, but there are no more excuses really after this. You've gotten the coaching staff where you want it. Now you've definitely gotten the roster where you want it. You have positioned yourself to where the narrative has kind of flipped around this quickly in a matter of what, 3 weeks? What does it look like going forward? We'll see. But LSU has put themselves in a position to absolutely be a team. And Brian Kelly has put himself in a position to be the coach, in my opinion, out of those four that should get back there first. Alabama's going to be in the hunt next year with Kalen DeBoer, 100%. And that game in Tuscaloosa between the Tigers and the Tide, as it always does, is going to mean an awful lot for each team's postseason. It did this year. But when you compare off seasons, right now, at this point, it's December 26th. When you compare off seasons at this point, LSU's had a better off season than Alabama, especially in the transfer portal. I don't really think that's groundbreaking. I don't think that's breaking news. So if you're looking at it in a vacuum at this point in the season, or this point in the off, or well, no, it's still the season, because you haven't had all the bowls yet. It's kind of a coin flip deal, but it just feels like LSU's been building a little bit more towards this, which is why I'd kind of lean a little bit more towards LSU there. But one thing's for certain. This is going to be a really pivotal year. So far, and we kind of talked about it at the top of the show today. So far, this staff in this portal cycle have kept and met every promise that they laid forth. So you have no reason to believe they're not going to continue to do that. They're going to field a team that is extremely talented and should be competitive. Whether they are competitive hinges solely on how they come together, how the coaches get them ready to play, and how they're able to execute each week, game in and game out. Everything on paper points towards the playoff. But you actually have to go out there and win the games. And the margin for error going forward there, now that you have it exactly where you want it, is a lot thinner. But if you give me Kalen DeBoer, Brian Kelly, Luke Fickell, Lincoln Riley, and say, hey, of those four, right now, on December 26th, who is the coach most likely to get back first? I really don't know how you don't say Brian Kelly with what you have to look at right now. That could change in March. That could change in August. By then, it could be Kalen DeBoer. Hell, by then, it could be Lincoln Riley. Who knows? Probably not, but it could be. Who knows? But right now, on December 26th, I don't know how you look at this objectively and say it isn't Brian Kelly. We'll see if he can get it done. We'll see if LSU can get it done. They got the same schedule they had a year ago. You just flipped home and away. This went 8-4. But you should be way more talented. And you have a second-year starting quarterback. Again, today, I don't know how you look at this and say that it isn't Brian Kelly with the option to get back quickly. We'll see. Tigers, they play their bowl game December 31st against Baylor. And then we'll enter spring and summer and fall, and they will kick off the 2025 season against Clemson at Clemson on August 30th. And that is when we will get our answer first of just how serious LSU is going to be in 2025. They win that opener, y'all, that goes a long, long way because they haven't won one in 5 years. And Brian Kelly hadn't won one since he's been here. I'm to the point where you don't get the benefit of the doubt there anymore. Like, I'm kind of to the point of during the 8-game losing streak to Alabama where I was there, where it's like, yeah, you got to prove it before I ever think you can actually do it again. Because a lot of the times LSU's had the more talented team. They just haven't been able to get over the hump in those games. That game is going to tell you so much about where this team is early in the 2025 season. But yeah, for me, out of those four right now, Brian Kelly's got the best shot to get back to the playoff first. We'll see if they do it.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.